Welcome to an episode of Mindful Drawing. This is number 81. We've been at this for a little while and experimenting, practicing live each week with how we can engage with a mindful practice through the act of drawing, find a little bit of relaxation, creativity, and expression, while also focusing in, calming ourselves, opening that space that is necessary to begin to see beyond that blank page or a preconceived idea, and reaching out into that flow of creativity to find something new on that page in front of us. You can follow along here by watching and listening. What I'm drawing is just an example that comes to mind, and there's no need to follow exactly, but just hear the words and trust your own guidance as you make the marks there on the page and let them unfold into something new. We don't need much, just a pad of paper, a pen, a pencil, anything you like to draw with, and something it'll make a mark on. Other than that, go ahead and settle in, prepare yourself in your space, and let's draw together. As always, just taking a moment or two to find some space where we are and get set up. That's getting comfortable with your setup, a desk or a notepad. Getting the shoulders and back into alignment, just giving them a little light roll. See if there's any tightness or hitch. A little roll forward to backwards. A couple deep breaths. Picking up the pen or the pencil, just getting familiar with its weight, getting set up if it needs to be opened or sharpened or anything. And the warm-up will be a quick introduction. We'll look today at just an expanding field of dots or lines playing across the page. So I'm going to begin anywhere by just making a small circle or dot, and then moving a little away from it and making a neighbor, somewhat similar, but each one a little bit different. The first few, playing with the speed, playing with the direction, starting to notice what feels of natural to your hand and position. Then as you have that sense of moving either clockwise or counterclockwise, maybe you notice that it changes sporadically or has some relationship to your position on the page, bringing whatever awareness to that is for now. Once we have it into our mind, we can begin to enter into that space to guide it and observe it, spending a few dots, choosing a direction, clockwise or counter, taking a breath and really slowing down the motion, beginning to notice how many rotations you make, maybe giving it a bit of a counting, 2, 3, 4, whatever number, again, feels comfortable, and a slower speed gives you some time to notice inward the feel of the instrument in your hand on the paper, and start to enter into that space of localized awareness of action in the practice of drawing. But that's all we'll really need, is that continuous movement of dots. Continue there on that page, or begin another for the longer exercise. I like to close my eyes for a moment, and knowing there's this big blank canvas, maybe see if anything, pattern, image, object comes to mind behind the eyes. If not, we just begin with a dot. If so, we also begin with a dot. Taking a breath in, finding location, establishing direction, and setting up that attentive duration for forming a small circle or dot, the number of revolutions that work well for your hand, your comfort, trying to keep a count for a little bit. Breathing in between each location and letting it flow out slowly as you make your mark there. And that can begin to become your measure, aligning the revolutions with the out breath flow. Maybe finding a little pulse to the breath. As a way of bringing some feedback, some sound into the awareness. I don't know if you can pick it up, but I do a little exaggerated there. We'll let the breath on its way out intensify and relax a little bit with each revolution. These can be little circles, big circles, dense dots, depending on what you're using to draw. It might change. And finding an attunement through this breath, pulse and count to the instrument that you're using to draw with. Really bringing attention to each moment there of marking on the page. The new dot related to the one before, to the chain of events before, but its own unique moment and opportunity here on the paper. Each one a practice. Practice in connecting the movement of our hand, the engagement, grip, and control of the pen or pencil, the alignment of our breath with action, and the sensations of engaging with the paper, the page. And as that deepening look inward through the technique of drawing, through the act of drawing, pulls us in to each moment, we begin to let it drift out of our focus, letting the breath, which we've established with a rhythm, follow how it might naturally feel with the motion. Maybe observing the breath for a while without necessarily trying to guide it. Through observation, we may begin that guiding, whether we intend to or not, as it's less of our counting mechanism, does it stay attuned, guiding location and action through its in and out pulses. Does it begin to drift off cycle or just settle in to a nice relaxed flow in and out? Through this external action, the drawing, and internal action, or breathing, we have an opportunity to practice our observation, our ability to step back and witness what is happening in our space with ourselves. And something light, maybe something a little fun and creative, or just something different from our normal routine. We can find ourselves here in the repetition, settling in to that new rhythm, that new routine. And if that is comfortable, relaxing, you're finding a nice flow and kind of detachment from determination through observation. Stay with that for a while, letting the repetition of action, the practice and now unfolding of technique be your guide for a little bit. Let the eyes maybe focus intensely and then drift out of focus, beginning to absorb not only the moment that you are engaging, the circle or dot of action, but also to let go of a need to guide the hand in that moment, the pattern stabilize. Maybe they drift around the room, drift around the drawing, see where things are forming one step at a time. Maybe they drift closed for a little bit to let the other senses come into the foreground, feeling the pen or pencil move across the paper. Opening the ears to what might be going on around you. Can you hear the scratches of the pencil on the page? Do we hear them through our fingertips? Other lingering engagements with our olfactory smells in the space, scents that help us know where we are. Maybe lingering tastes of morning coffee, tea. Just the subtle things that get pushed to the background when we must engage with our physical environment through our eyes so often. As they lose some of their focus and dominance, what else comes into the foreground? And I find myself oscillating between using my vision to help guide the location, find place, and then letting it close off and enter into the haptic, the touch, the sensations from the fingertips up through the wrist and the forearm. The elbow, subtle kind of flicks as those acute motor skills track all the way up through the body. The stability of the shoulder, holding the arm in its place for action, and the connection through the upper back to the other side, maybe sitting quietly there, waiting. The alignment of that upper back as a T to the spine. Yeah. An engagement and a practice of our observation skills inward to ourselves, outward to the senses interface with the world around us, and that guiding kind of metronome of action in the repetition of the drawing technique. Wandering, moving around the page, perhaps lightly guided or free and meandering. And with our space, technique, action, and awareness established, an immersion into our being here for the moment, our presence and awareness. Can let go through the breath and through the repetition, lingering thoughts. You can breathe them away, let them spiral into the forming of the dots, the shapes on the page. The breath can always be that release and tied to action in the moment, a connection to that presence, the temporary and repetition. And as we open the mind, open the eyes, bring them back here to see and engage with the space we're creating on the paper. Let them observe whatever configuration is forming through the many moments there, related in their proximity, perhaps related in their shape, perhaps a constellation of just floating little dots, whichever begins to call your attention. Taking a couple of minutes now that we're open and engaged with our page. It's no longer empty, to guide some of our access, direct some of the composition, movement, sequence found in the small shapes gathering there on the page, bringing some of your own creative intention or expression from that opening space of emptiness. And you may begin to find that all of this repetition of movement in such a small, kind of fine motor skill space brings a little fatigue. If your finger, wrists, or arm begin to get tired, you can always take a moment to stretch, take a moment to disengage from action and enter observation, reflection. A little recovery, perhaps switch hands or stretch may be enough to begin. As the drawing takes some shape in your eyes, you may reduce the repetition as you begin to guide pattern, guide figure and shape, find behavior or emergence. But at the same time, keeping the calm. If there's an urge to move quickly, to move towards completion, recognizing that urge, taking a breath, letting it out smooth, and finding a balance between a goal or desire and being present in the action. They can work together. No rush to complete. It's just the time to be present with the drawing, with the self. And you might find a little in between from many revolutions of engraving the mark to a movement that lets you guide the creation, lets you have a dialogue with the medium, but maintain some consistency of observation and presence. And you might begin to see other things emerge. You can move from the line of the dots to find other ways of reading in the space. Perhaps a weaving through, a meandering, braiding, a wrapping around or extending over. A different mechanism for the hand and the eye to see what might emerge from the space of openness found in that time of relaxation, of practice. And take a few minutes to to draw in the silence, the space. See where it might take the expression here. Just a minute or so left in our time here. Feel free to continue drawing, moving that pen or pencil around the page, engaging with the figures you're finding, the techniques you're discovering, drawing that is emerging there. Or if you've had enough, your fingers are tired, the dots have filled the page, and begin to disengage, place down the instruments of action. Stretch the fingers, move the back and shoulders side to side. Let them move forward and back. Check in with the lower back and the seat. Let the feet rest softly on the floor. Take a nice deep breath in. And just let it fall out as you re-emerge into the space around you and prepare yourself for the actions of the day. Entering back into our space after a little time of so much focus, practice, of so much leveraging our creativity and attention in that act of mindful drawing. It's good to take a breath or two. Just let the body relax, let the hands relax, let the eyes and senses come back into the space that you're in, into their attunement, and have a bit of gratitude for the time you're able to spend on yourself, whatever might have emerged there on the paper if it's inspiring, maybe having a bit of relaxation, and take that into the rest of your day, whether you're doing this in the morning, on a lunch break, or even in the evening to unwind. You carry that feeling with you and just let it guide you as you make creative decisions, as you express your ideas and your position, and as you search in that open void, that emptiness for your own true calling. I hope this practice can bring you a little bit of flow and open up some of your creative engines to get you excited about continuing with any kind of drawing practice, with any kind of creative practice, and finding a link into that mindful space of awareness, that detachment from other concerns and worries, or even from determination, so that we can observe and engage with the mediums to discover new things. But if you like what you see here, you follow along in some of the other videos on the channel, let me know. Leave a comment and give it a thumbs up. If you enjoy it, I hope you find at least some relaxation and a few moments of calm in your day. And wherever you are and whatever you're doing, draw well. Thank you. This is Rooks is Fun, signing off. Draw well.